Hey there everyone, it's Cassie. Welcome back for another Trinity Stamps video. Today we're going to be playing with some sneak peeks, brand new, coming March 2nd. So this first one is called EGGstra, love it, and this second one is called Layered Lawn. This one's going to be great for all of your spring projects, and it also has some matching dies to cut out the tops of those layered lawns. So we're going to start off by stamping our layered lawn. I have some green cardstock. It's kind of like a lime color, and I'm going to take each of these stamps and I'm going to place these kind of on top of each other, giving a little bit of space in between, and you'll see why we do that later on, but we'll put all four of those up there, and then we'll close the door of our Misty. I'm only doing this in the Misty because I want to make sure and get that stamped well. Now to condition these stamps, because these are brand new, I'm using a white eraser. You could use the palm of your hand. That oil kind of just gets them ready for some ink, but I decided since these are fairly solid and long that I would just use my white eraser. And all that does is help that to grip, basically grip the ink a little bit better. So this color that I'm using is called Fake Plant. And then I'm just going to close the door of the Misty and stamp that down. I think that looks really good on top of that lime colored cardstock. And then I went ahead and flipped it and did it again. Now we're going to take all of our dies and match those up, and it's actually a lot easier than you think. They're super simple to line right up on top. I didn't have any issues. And then I went ahead and die cut all of those out. Now you see that some of those have obviously some rough edges on the bottom. All I'm going to do is take some more of that color that I already stamped with, and I'm going to take one of my blending buddies and I'm going to just blend that all across the bottom. It does not need to be perfect, and that line is still going to be there. I just want to be able to kind of create the illusion that there is some of that grass back there, just some shadowing, because it honestly isn't going to bother me if there is a little bit of that showing. I just didn't want it to be like super stark difference. So that's how those are going to layer on top of each other, and I think those are going to look pretty good. So my base is a light blue cardstock. My original thought was I was going to take these Layered Lawn stamped images and I was going to go from top to bottom on an A2 size card, but I decided I did want a little bit of sky to show. That's why I chose light blue. That measures 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, and I did score it at 4.25. And then all I'm going to do is start layering these up. I've got my Crafty Gluefriend, and I'm going to leave a little bit of sky and then try and get that as straight as possible. And I will kind of stagger these, kind of going back and forth a little bit just to give a different look. And I'm obviously not going all the way to the top of that grass. And there's a reason for that as well. One, you don't need to, and two, I've got some plans for behind that grass. So here we are, just continuing to line up each of those stamped and die cut bits of grass. And I will end up needing a couple more, so I'm going to stamp and die cut a couple more just to make sure that I fill in all the way from where I've started down to the very bottom. And I left the one that had the biggest bottom. That's going to be my very last piece. Okay, so we're just finishing up here. And as I said, you can see that I'm staggering those. This is going to end up being fairly thick in some of those areas. So this isn't going to be able to go through your your guillotine trimmer super easily. So I've got a big pair of tonic shears, and I'm just going to flip this over and I'm going to cut those off. You could try it in your guillotine trimmer, but I think you're going to have some issues if you make it as thick as I did in some areas. So we're just going to trim that off. And this ended up looking so much better than I even thought it was going to. Next, I'll bring in our EGGstra stamp set, and there's 2 solid eggs, a bigger one and a smaller one, so I went ahead and stamped those out using several different colors. Then we're going to use the outlines right over the top of those using some black ink for both our big ones and our small ones. And then I'm just going to bring in a silver pen, and I'm going to doodle on my eggs. You wouldn't have to do this, but I thought it would be kind of fun. I'm doing some squiggles on all of the large ones and some dots on all of the smaller ones. I'll show you what that looks like here in a second, but there's no rhyme or reason to it, and it's just kind of fun. Like I said, you could skip this, but I thought it was a lot of fun. So now I'm going to stamp out the words, "Your EGGstra Special," and I'm going to use my Blackout ink to stamp those up. And I'm going to do it a couple times because it didn't stamp perfectly the first time. And then once that's all stamped, we're going to bring in the matching dies for EGGstra. And we'll tack that down with a little bit of mint tape, and then we can run that through our die cutting machine. There are 2 big eggs and 2 small ones, which makes it super easy if you wanted to stamp a bunch of eggs like I did. So then you don't have to, run it through quite as many times. So I think that's great. So I'm going to do all of my die cutting, and then we can start placing things. So I've kind of got an idea of where I want my words to go, and I'm going to use some foam tape on that, using my pickup stick to help me peel off the release paper on that. Kind of trying to center that up a little bit. I just think that's so cute. Your EGGstra special. All right, so then we'll get our last word on there. And then our eggs are going to be fun, because we're going to stick those behind those blades of grass. And then I'll use my Crafty Gluefriend to adhere all of those down. Now, I think what's really neat about your layered lawn is obviously you have a lot of longevity, a lot of potential for that stamp set. And even stamping those out, you could use some foam squares or foam tape to prop some of those up to make it even more dimensional if you wanted. But I am so happy with how this turned out, so much better than I thought it would. And all this is doing is making me think back to my childhood when we used to run around with the cousins and, hunt eggs in the backyard. Some of them would be just right there out in the open. But there it is. I'm going to not do any more embellishing, but I did bring in some glossy accents, and I'm going over the word EGGstra, and some of that glossy accent got a little away from me, but I do like the shiny look of it. And it's a little milky right now, but you'll see in the picture that I show you after, it does dry nice and clear and shiny. So I hope you liked this sneak. If you did, please hit that like button. Consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And big thanks for all the support you guys give. And I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.